Welcome to 3DLANES number 67. Today we will be discussing the Nikon FM2. And the Nikon FM2 is another interesting camera that it was positioning between enthusiast and professional. So it was something like a camera that or a product where the consumer is looking for something not yet professional because that's more expensive, but something like almost scratching the surface of a professional equipment. So the Nikon FM2 also represents, or it has the record of maintaining continuous production for 19 years. This is one of the most successful product strategies in mechanical camera history. Actually, I don't know if this is the record of uh longest production of a camera, but it's from 1982 to 2001. And again, the value proposition that Nikon used for this specific camera was basically delivering a flagship level mechanical reliability uh, at a mid-tier price. And this targeted the intersection between professional needs and the advanced amateur aspirations. So again, something in between the pro and the enthusiast, or a very, very serious enthusiast. But yes, so the Nikon FM2 achieved distinction as Nikon's. Okay, let it be clear. This is Nikon's longest produced 35 millimeter SLR. That's it. Let's leave it at that. Let's set the facts straight. So it spanned almost 2 decades, 1982 to 2001, and the longevity reflected Nikon's systematic integration of user feedback. So they listened to the customer, and this is what drove this camera to live that long. Obviously, they also implemented continuous improvement strategies, and this allowed the FM2 series to maintain a very, very robust market presence despite encountering the digital revolution after the 1980s. But the original FM2, because we have three different FM2s, the original one from 1982 to 1983 featured the groundbreaking titanium honeycomb shutter curtains with 1/200th of a second flash synchronization. So 1/200 shutter speed. You could synchronize the flash at that speed. You know, some cameras have it like 1/60. That's the slowest or fastest that you can uh, program the flash with. So this one allowed you to do it at 1/200. And this was unprecedented or unheard of for mechanical cameras at launch. So the FM2N, which is the new FM2 from 1983 to 2001, introduced improved flash synchronization at 1/250th of a second. So eliminated the dedicated X200 speed marking and initially retained titanium shutters before transitioning to aluminum curtains. This is post 1989. So if you want everything titanium, try to get something before 1989. As manufacturing technology advanced, the titanium got moved to aluminum. The limited production FM2 T, this one is from 1994, so specifically for that year, and utilized titanium for top and bottom plates, reducing weight by approximately 35 grams. And it went back to, well, it had aluminum shutters, which is interesting. But some of the innovation and differentiation from the FM2, well, at least the core innovation here is, I think, is the tech specs, or all the technology that this camera actually included. The fully mechanical shutter capability of 1/4,000th of a second. So the shutter speed was so fast with a mechanical shutter. It was something never heard before, and it was double the industry standard of 1/2000th of a second max, which is a breakthrough at that time. But the way they did it, was ultra thin, lightweight, vertical travel mechanical shutter curtains with distinctive honeycomb patterns stamped into titanium foil. So instead of being horizontal, it was vertical curtains. And this enabled both higher maximum speeds and faster flash synchronization. They also had a feature high-strength hardened metal gears and ball-bearing mounted film transport mechanisms, designed for self-lubrication and minimal maintenance. So, long story short, the mechanism to transport the film within the camera was designed in a manner where the maintenance was very, very minimal. That's all those complicated words. That's what they were trying to say. But also, unlike electronic competitors, the FM2 operated at all shutter speeds without battery power. So it's fully mechanical, and you require batteries only for the TTL center weight light meter. And this was a critical reliability advantage for professionals working in difficult environments. Some of the strategic positioning in the market for the Nikon FM2 are that by 1982, 80% of Japanese households had at least one 35mm camera. This can tell you that the market was reaching saturation. New production technologies and computer aid lens designs and super lightweight plastics commoditized camera manufacturing. This compressed the profit margins for all the camera manufacturers. The SLR segment market share bottomed at 15% in 1989. Consumers favored the very compact point and shoot cameras, so the SLR was technically dying as they knew it at the time. So against all this, Nikon went after a dual strategy, and meaning the first was that the company maintained mechanical excellence to serve the professionals and advanced amateurs who valued their reliability over automated controls. That's why the FM2 was so successful. And second, Nikon positioned the FM2 specifically as a professional's backup camera, a secondary body for photographers using flagship electronic models like the F3, F4, and F5. And we'll touch on why of this later. But throughout the 1980s, Nikon dominated the professional 35mm market, with company advertising claiming that 7 out of 10 professional photographers using, or 7 out of 10 professional photographers are using 35mm. Oh, man, I get stuck. I don't know why I'm getting stuck with this one, but 7 out of 10 professional photographers using 35mm use Nikon. So 70% of people, of professionals that know what they're doing, choose Nikon. That's basically what they were trying to sell you, and that's how they sold so many Nikon cameras at the time. But Canon introduction of the EOS system in 1987 with advanced autofocus and electronic lens coupling eventually eroded Nikon's professional market monopoly. So Canon was biting on their heels, and eventually they kind of like took some market share from them. But the FM2 was competing also with Canon and the AE1 program. The AE1 program dominated the mass market sales through automation, as we've spoken before, and shutter priority and program modes. Very, very aggressive pricing at $300 to $400. If you want to know more about the Canon AE1, you can go to episode 4 and you'll find more information there. But Canon prioritized market share over premium positioning. So Canon was technically the Toyota, right? Then they were targeting amateur photographers with user-friendly features. And the AE1 sold in so vastly higher volumes, and it was plastic heavy constructed and electronic dependent, and it was still positioned below the FM2 in build quality and professional acceptance. So again, the AE1 was seen as the amateur camera. It was cool, don't get me wrong, but it was still regarded as below the FM2. On the other hand, we have another brand like Pentax, and Pentax had two cameras in the market competing with Nikon and Canon: the compact MX and professional LX. The MX started in 1976, and it matched the original FM model. So not the FM2, but the original FM. And it was similar in size and mechanical philosophy, but he had horizontal travel shutter that did not allow it to have as fast shutter speeds as the Nikon, either the FM or the FM2. So that kind of like put it in a disadvantage. But we also had the LX that started in 1980, and this offered professional features, including aperture priority, automation, weather sealing, and interchangeable viewfinders. But the weight was significantly heavier, and it was definitely pricier, around $600 to $800 at the time. Position it against Nikon's flagship F3 rather than the FM2. The third contender against Nikon, we have Olympus. Olympus had the OM1 and OM2 in the market, and they were basically focusing on compact SLR, which started the revolution for compact SLR started in 1972. But Olympus never captured significant professional market share, and this limited competitive pressure on Nikon's professional-oriented positioning. So they were basically targeting different segments. We also have, when it comes to let's sprinkle some microeconomic wisdom here, but the competition that we see here, it's basically monopolistic. At least in each segment, you might have one vendor that's preferred than the other one, and Nikon pretty much had the handle of the whole market, you could say. But Canon, after the AE1 program, they took over the affordable cameras, and the mass market, as we call it. It was basically taken over by Canon and their electronic advanced cameras that made everything easier for aspirational or amateur photographers. There's some price elasticity here, at least in the consumer level. We see there were more price elastic choices being made. When it comes to professional, not so much, because as soon as you are in an ecosystem with the body, you kind of like locked in. So it's still the same back then as today. To change the whole system requires some work. So in professional, it's not that elastic, but entry level, yes, very, very elastic. And if we go to supply chain and production, we can say that as time progressed, the economies of scale played a big factor. a big factor here. Um, Production costs for mechanical cameras. Um, they had they had fixed costs, obviously, for tooling, assembly line setup, and all that stuff, quality control. So the FM2's 19-year production run amortized these fixed costs by a lot for Nikon. But if we take a look at the product, right? We've been discussing the product, which is the Nikon FM2, and we know the technical specifications. It was pretty revolutionary, and pretty much every camera that I've spoken about around that time has had something advanced or technological advancement for the time, meaning the 80s, the 70s. We have the Spotmatic, we have the AE1 program, we have the FM2, uh, the ME Super, the Pentax ME Super. But at least for this Nikon, for example, it's the shutter speed that you can synchronize with the flash, or the maximum shutter speed that you can reach with it. But the build quality and durability for this one was a huge deal, because the durability reinforced the professional grade positioning and justified the premium pricing that Nikon was targeting. And the total cost of ownership basically made everything worth for the customer. The system compatibility, we have Nikon's extensive lens catalog at the time, and this created a pretty good ecosystem for people. There was a lot of value there, and reduce switching costs for existing Nikon users. So if you're already a Nikon user, you can use the same lenses even if you have this as your backup body, right? That's what Nikon was trying to achieve. The product strategy for the FM2 emphasize continuous incremental improvement. So what did they do? They enhanced flash synchronization on the FM2N. They had a titanium body option with the FM2T. They extended the product relevance without having to redesign the whole thing. And this approach maximized their R&D efficiently and maintained technological leadership within the mechanical camera segment. The price for the FM2, the target was a value-based pricing, we could call it. And this set the FM2 prices based on perceived professional grade value rather than cost plus calculations. So the FM2 was seen as like a very good piece of gear. And for example, one of the dimensions for this price analysis, we could say that there's a premium tier positioning. So the launch price at $364 in 1982 positioned the FM2 approximately 20-30% above mass market alternatives, like the Canon A1 was 300 to 350. So 364 was not outrageous. I mean, you might not have the same technological aids that the AE1 program might have, or the AE1, but this FM2 was more mechanical, sturdier, felt better built. But this camera was also 30 to 50% below flagship professional cameras like the Nikon F3. The Nikon F3 was advertised as $600 to $800. The Pentax LX was $600 to $800. Similar pricing for both professional grade cameras. This intermediate positioning captured customers seeking professional quality without having to invest in something that was flagship. There was price escalation strategy, so they systematically increased the price to $525 by 1988. So in 6 years, the price increased, let's say, around $200. And there was another increase by 1995 to $745. So they tracked inflation and they reinforced the premium positioning as the camera matured. This helped them maintain price levels despite aging technology, and this also signaled the confidence they have in the enduring value proposition, and they also exploited brand loyalty and ecosystem lock-in with the customers. There was also a discount structure with the FM2. So the standard discount that you could find back then was around 30 to 40% off a retail discount from list prices. This created negotiation flexibility and retailer margin incentives, also maintaining perceived premium positioning through high list prices. So you see the listing at the regular price, but you get to the store and you might be able to haggle a little bit. This approach helped Nikon balance the distribution channel economics with brand image management. There was also some competitive price anchoring. Pricing between mass market and flagship tiers exploited anchoring effects. What do I mean with that? Customers comparing the FM2 to the flagship F3, then when they're comparing the pricing, they perceive exceptional value. Those comparing the Canon AE1 recognize quality differentiation justifying premiums. So the AE1 was very plasticky, the FM2 was more sturdy, better built. So if we look now at current secondary market pricing, we can find them around 250 to $500 for the FM2 or the FM2N, 700 to 850 for the FM3A, which is the successor of the FM2, which as you can see, there's still value there. And prices approaching used Nikon F3 bodies show you that there's a strong residual demand from film photography and the revival that is experiencing and the collector markets that we see with these cameras. But place of distribution, the usual back then, right? We've spoken about authorized dealer networks, which is what most of these manufacturers used. Depending on the market or the geography of your location, you might be able to find different stores, North America, Western Europe, Japan. These markets offer sufficient professional and advanced amateur density to support specialty camera stores and justify the premium pricing. So that's what Nikon was targeting, and that's where Nikon went. They were not distributing like the AE1 program, and this was perceived as, or this was a scarcity they created and reinforced exclusivity perception. And it also prevented channel conflict between professional dealers and mass merchandisers. There was also a very good service and support infrastructure that Nikon had. They established service centers in key markets, providing professional grade repair and maintenance capabilities essential for professional customers. There was an international expansion of the brand. Nikon's strategy evolved from single national distributors to multiple regional distributors by 2009. They were expanding dealer networks from 800 to 1,200 plus retail points. However, this expansion focused primarily on digital cameras. The FM2 distribution remained concentrated in established professional channels throughout its production run. Promotion. Well, the FM2 was promoted as the professional's backup camera. As mentioned at the beginning, this was emphasizing reliability, mechanical excellence, and professional grade performance. The positioning exploited professionals' need for redundancy. So it also appealed to advanced amateurs as an aspirational purchase, right? So what do I mean with professional redundancy? It means that you have another camera. If your main camera has some electronics, right? It's still a film camera. It has some electronics working for you. Something fails. Your backup camera is a fully mechanical camera, the FM2, Might use the same mount, so you might use the same lenses. You can still use the film, but it's all mechanical. So if something in the environment made the electronics go bad, you have your mechanical backup and it's there to work, right? The promotion also went through print media advertising. Before, that was pretty popular. Nowadays, everything's electronic, so we don't get a lot of paper around here. But yeah, that was the deal. This contrasts with Canon's broader TV advertising for consumer cameras. So that's something that Nikon did not do. Nikon relied on a lot of word of mouth and professional endorsements. They had the emphasis on the promotional of the technical specifications. The shutter speed was a big one, and the flash sync with the high shutter speed was the other one. There was minimal consumer mass media. So by not doing this made Nikon a little more efficient in optimized marketing ROI, given that the cameras was kind of like a niche positioning, more like a semi-pro situation. This is what I have for the Nikon FM2 today. Let me know what your thoughts are. If you have one, I would like to see it. If you still use one, I would like to know, and I would like to see some sample photos. You can always find sample photos online, by the way, depending on the camera that you're talking about. But if you have one and you use it, let me see the photos, man. I would like to see those. I am Denny. This is 3DLANES number 67. I appreciate your time. I will see you next time.